Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 44 of the 72 review. Firstly, I just want to wish Jake all the best on his recovery. We'll get that straight in there. He's missing another review show. He lost a fight to a set of tables. If you don't know Jake, he has got FND, causes seizures. He had a seizure a couple of days ago, fell over, smashed his head open on a table. So he's good, but he's recovering. So he has sat out today. So we wish him all the best in that recovery. But he has been replaced by a debutant and a well-known one down in League Two. It is Matt from Jills in the Blood TV. So we'll start with you, Matt. Let people know who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
That sounds like I'm going on blind date, doesn't it? I run Jills in the Blood TV, a YouTube channel. Obviously, there's a Twitter page as well. We have a Facebook page that's predominantly just Jills fans. That's invite only. And an Instagram page as well. Yeah, been doing it 6.5 years for my sins. Most of that's been pretty turgid and a bit of a battle, but finally, thanks to Mr. and Mrs. Gallinson, the last 9 months has been great fun. And views along with performances and subscriber counts are all going the right way, and long may that continue. So yeah, you can find us on Twitter if you search Jills in the Blood TV, and it's the same on, like I say, YouTube and Instagram as well. If you don't like football, Instagram's probably not for you. So
lovely stuff. Moving around the screen, we'll move next to Matt. We've got Ian. Let people know who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Hello, I'm Ian. I'm a 61-year-old Rotherham season ticket holder, and when the Millers are away, partly because of our away form, I'm up and down the country vlogging for Over the Bar YouTube channel. Really concentrating on Leagues 1 and 2.
Lovely stuff. And finally, we've got Lee from Around the Grounds in the top corner. Let us know who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Yeah, so I'm a ground upper. Started the YouTube channel journey just to document my little travels along the way. I'm a Wednesday fan for my sins. Not a very happy one at the moment, but now loving getting to different games and covering it for my channel.
Cracking content from all three of these guys. Links to their YouTube channels is in the description as always. As ever, we're going to be going through all three divisions. The international break was last weekend, so League One and the Championship all back in action this weekend. But we're going to start in League Two. Get your comments in, as always. That does drive conversation as we go through the leagues. So let's get League Two on. Move that across there. I think because it's your debut, Matt, I think we'll start at Gillingham. Talk us through Gillingham so far this season. Obviously, we were talking just before we came live. It was a tough old start to League Two football last season. You were saying you were seeing a goal every 4 games, and then obviously the takeover at Christmas led to, I think you were probably was it the second best team in the division going into the end of the season, and you've just carried that on this season. So talk us through what it's been like as a Gillingham fan since relegation from League One, and then talk us through this game as well, mate.
Yeah, I mean, last season was the definition of a game or a campaign of 2 halves. It was horrid from the start of August right through till the 23rd of December, when the club announced a statement that there'd been investment and the Gallinsons had taken over. And from there, like you mentioned, we've been the second best team up until the end of the season. Points-wise, it was only 2 points behind Stockport County from January the 1st up until the final game of that campaign. And I think we're now top because Stockport have not had the greatest start. And obviously we're sitting pretty at the top of League Two at the moment, which is great. We understand it's a very embryonic League Two table still. It's only 8 games, so you're only sort of 20% of the way through. There's a long way to go. Marathon, not a sprint, and all them sort of cliches will be chucked around, certainly amongst fan bases of teams that have not started well, but trying to remain level-headed. But yeah, it's all been positive since the turn of the year. I said somewhere before, I'm not sure if it was on my own channel or to someone else, it didn't even feel like the club had been taken over. It just felt like we'd been given a brand new football club. It was almost like they'd airlifted Priestfield out of the way and put in a replica that looked exactly the same. But internally, it was just a completely different place in terms of the people working there, the social media interaction, the interaction they're now having with fan channels like myself and podcasts, which is brilliant. And obviously, better players lead to better performances and ultimately better results, which is what we're all sitting here wanting to do, is watch our football team win. And in terms of Saturday's game against Morecambe, I've got no doubt that we deserved the 3 points. I've watched Derek Adams' comments.
Bit salty, weren't they?
Maybe. I spoke to a Morecambe fan this morning, ironically, for our match day review show, which will be out later this evening if you want to go and watch it. There you go, little shameless plug.
Do it, mate.
He said that it's like a back. He said it was almost like a backhanded compliment to Gillingham that because Morecambe had been decent, and they were decent. I'm not going to sit here and pretend otherwise against the side that's top of the league and won 6 out of 8. That they're not going to be going too far wrong this season. Again, yes, it can be construed a different way. It might look a bit salty, but I just think that's Derek Adams' character on the whole, isn't he? He never looks happy, even when he's ecstatic, I'd imagine. I think if he smiles, it's probably due to wind or something like that. But yeah, in terms of the game, the first half was a brilliant watch. I said on the match day live, from a neutral point of view, if you was in the ground, you'd have been well happy. You was getting your money's worth. There was chances galore. We opened the scoring after about 7 or 8 minutes. A really good corner. Looked like a training ground routine that went to the back post, and Jules Lapsley didn't get picked up and smashed it in from a couple of yards. To be fair to Morecambe, they're a very young side. I think their average age is about 20, 21. Essentially, and their front 3, I think, are all 19. They went up and scored 2 minutes later. If you watch my match day live, you can still hear us chanting Gillingham are massive as the equaliser goes in, and it quickly went quiet. So the concern that's been going on throughout Neil Harris's reign is that we're not good when we have to chase a game. We're certainly not good when we concede the first goal. So it wasn't quite at that level, but obviously we had to react, and we reacted accordingly. And from 10, 15 minutes when they equalised up until probably the last couple of minutes, the half, we were brilliant. We were so good. We could have scored 2 or 3 more. I think we forced the keeper into a save straight after. There was another couple of half chances, balls fizzed across the box. We had one harshly chalked out. From what I've seen live in the ground and from what I've looked back on highlights, it looks a very dubious call. I've said this again on our match day review show. I think goalkeepers get treated like endangered species too much. There's far too much protection. And then Conor Mahoney did what Conor Mahoney did, and I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a wonderful
goal.
Strike. He sent 2 defenders.
Footwork before it is unreal to get that yard of space.
Yeah, brilliant. Like there's the first shift onto the shoulder where you think he's going to go, and then he just stops it dead, and you see 2 centre halves just slide into the main stand. I think they're still in there, bless them. And then does it again and creates the yard, and whips it top corner, and absolute jubilation in the Rainham end. But credit Morecambe again; they came back into it. They had their chances. If Michael Mellon had scored the volley that he attempted just before half time, it would be goal of the season, and it would be up for the Puskas Award. Marco van Basten, Euro 88. That's all I'm going to say. But probably even further out to the touchline, and it clipped the top of the bar as it dipped over our keeper and went out for a goal kick. I mean, to even have that belief at 19 is phenomenal.
I did think, Matt, that Mellon were quite unlucky to get a second yellow because he was going to shoot the ball and the Gills defender's leg got in the way. I think it was a bit harsh.
I think, Ian, if you look at the booking in isolation, potentially yes. But if that's on the halfway line, it's a booking. 2 people going for the ball. We had a player sent off, and I get a 3-game ban for something similar a few weeks ago, where a Colchester player just pinched it, and there was some contact, not loads. My point, and I've had this discussion with a Morecambe fan on Twitter earlier today, is you've picked up a silly booking for kicking the ball away 2 minutes after one of our players has kicked the ball away. So you've got to use your brain a little bit. So don't give the officials a decision to make, would be my point. He doesn't have to lunge in on our centre half. The ball's going to be cleared for touch. Morecambe are going to get an offensive throw-in. And sadly, from the Shrimps' point of view, that probably sort of killed any last lingering hopes of them getting anything aside from maybe earning a set piece or someone smashing one in from 30 yards. He's a good player, Mellon, based on what I've seen. I mean, it's only 90 minutes. It's a very small segment, but he's scoring goals regularly. He's an absolute menace for centre halves and fullbacks. And like I say, he's got all the confidence in the world for a kid that's barely played.
He scored against us in the Carabao, and I were impressed with him then.
Yeah, and his goal against us was spot on as well. I mean, centre half just basically stood there and let him run through, but he still had a lot to do on the run to lob it over the keeper and into the far corner. It's a brilliant finish. I think we deserve to win the football match. I think we had more of the territory. I know it looks quite even if you look at it overall, but first half was where we won the football match, and then we allowed them to have more ball and sat in a little bit second half and almost played on the counter attack. Yeah, and we've had this issue with not being able to score more than one, so it was nice to get two. It could have been 3 or 4. It could have been 3 or 4 against Accrington a few weeks ago. So we're certainly starting to create chances. Just need strikers and midfielders to start putting more of them away.
Yeah,
Matt, do you think
next week though? No, the week after next week. Hopefully, he's still struggling to put chances away next weekend.
Matt, do you think it's going to be a case this season? You're going to be hard to beat, and it's going to be tight games, and you're just going to nick it? Because he seems like he's set you up hard to beat, and you're getting them goals. I can watch your first day of season, Stockport. You defended really well, and obviously got the 3 points.
Yeah, I think Neil Harris has always been a be solid first coach, I think, and then build from there. And there's been murmurings over the last couple of games. Like last week, people were getting uptight about Harrogate, but you have to remember that Harrogate was played in like 35-degree heat. It was ridiculously hot for a football match. I mean, I was struggling just sat there watching it. So for players of both sides to go and run around it, and that was up and down the country, people have to bear that in mind, I think. It's easy to sit in your armchair or in your stand and criticise without being out there. But yeah, I don't think we're not going to blow loads of teams away every week. We're not going to be like your Swindons and your Wrexhams. I can't see us being like that. And yesterday, when we tried to be more expansive, we then obviously ultimately left a little more open at the back, so we conceded more chances. Just about tweaking it and getting the balance right, isn't it? Like with everything.
Yeah, it is indeed. MTFC's got a question for you, Matt. Johnny Williams, has he been poor? He's not heard his name for a while. And then Neil's popped in. The last time he heard of him, he was leaving a hotel that Bradford were paying for him to go and sign for the Gills.
Yeah, that's a lovely story. I don't mind talking about that. But yeah, back to the other question about Johnny Williams' form. He's been decent without pulling up trees so far. I think we're still trying to find his best position. We know that he can be quite versatile. He can play as a midfielder in a 3. He can play as a 10. He can play wide left of a front 3. I think his 2 best performances for us have probably been Leyton Orient in the Papa John's Trophy. He played in the middle of the park and he got loads more ball. And yesterday was from the left. So he showed that he can do both sides, because I said midway through the first half, Morecambe didn't know how to pick up our wide men. That was Johnny Williams and Conor Mahoney. They were clever. Williams was dropping into pockets of space and picking up possession. Mahoney was tucking in, which was allowing our fullbacks to cheat and get high up, causing different problems. In terms of league, 75 minutes yesterday was probably the best we've seen from Johnny Williams, and with a bit more luck and better finishing, he'd have had 2 assists to his name as well yesterday. The keeper made 1 really good save from Conor Mahoney, which would have been a Johnny Williams assist. I still think, like us as a whole, I think Johnny Williams has still got gears to go through, which is quite exciting when we've won 6 out of 8.
Yeah.
It is indeed. Fighting thought from Matt, though, for Neil as well. Moving on.
Bradford? Can you scroll? How far do you have to scroll down to find Bradford in the league table?
It's some way, but unfortunately not quite as far as what you have to scroll down to find us. Neil's also put results, win games, and not performances, and that's quite a good segue into Doncaster at Forest Green Rovers, because for the last couple of weeks since the season started, I think performances at Doncaster have been much better than what we've seen in recent seasons, but results have not kind of copied the level of performance that we've been seeing. I think we've probably not. You create your own luck in football, and I think we've not created any luck for ourselves over.
So 3 shots between flipping it. That must have been a game.
Yeah, but yeah, I think we've been unlucky results wise in a number of games. There's been some performances that have warranted the result that we've got. This one, from all sources, I've been seeing the same thing, that the performance was very different. It probably didn't deserve the 3 points, but we've managed to get 3 points. Harrison Biggins' goal, probably one of the goal of the month, probably for us. Over a kick, probably goal of the season at the minute. But then we switch off again. Simple ball in from a corner, and Moore Taylor scores the equaliser on the 84th minute. And I just think, here we go again. It's not quite been there. I think Forest Green hit the woodwork 3 or 4 times throughout the 90 minutes as well. So I think Forest Green Rovers fans will come out of this feeling really hard done by. Like you just said, Matt, there's 28 shots, only 3 on target. Rovers have managed 15 shots with 7 on target away from home. So plenty of action through neutral to see. But the goal that finishes it off, Ben Close has come out and is laughing about it. He says that it's a cross, but we'll take it. I think we needed something like this to get that first win, especially with Gillingham coming up next weekend, Barrow the weekend after. I think it's going to be a tough end to the month, and if we get 2 points out of those two games, I'll be happy. Any more than that, I'll be ecstatic. But yeah, first outing for the blue and white third strip, so we've got a win in that. I think we should just play in blue and white for the rest of the season.
It's a good colour, to be fair.
It don't always work, trust me.
but no, that first win did pull us off of the foot of the table and out of the bottom two for the first time this season, which was nice to see yesterday. And it's been a weird feeling yesterday and today, actually thinking I'm going to be coming onto here being positive and being happy with a weekend not ruined by 90 minutes of football. So we'll take scrappy wins. I think Matt said about cliches and stuff that fan bases say. I think good teams do win games that they shouldn't. So hopefully that this is the springboard to push on for the rest of the season. Have you played Forest Green yet, Matt?
No, not yet. I think we go there Friday before Christmas, which is ideal. That'll be the EFL looking after away fans again.
Yeah, definitely. Any games that you guys want to touch on in League Two? Ian?
One, it's not the game. It's just the fact that Crewe have come back from 2-0 down for the fourth time this season. I think
they have indeed. Wimbledon. Left it very late in this one, 90 plus 10.
Yeah, they did. But it just shows you that a game is never over, even when you're 2-0 down. The heads don't drop, and it's credit to them. And there are you run about young teams. I think Crewe's team average age is in the early 20s, if not less.
It was actually older than Wimbledon's this week.
Yeah.
Looking at the app I use, Crewe's average age of their first 11 was 25.4, and Wimbledon's was 24.5. So,
right.
But yeah, still.
I'm wrong. Yeah, well, they've got one or two decent young players though, and they're having a good start. They've had a good start because I think I tipped them to struggle. Probably lower mid-table, but they look like they could get higher than that.
Yeah, they've had a solid start. So Wimbledon, to be fair. They've had
they have. Yeah,
had a good start.
I think both teams were tipped to struggle, weren't they?
Yeah.
I think I had them both bottom half.
Yeah. Lee, anybody in League Two before we move on to League One?
I think you've got to touch on maybe Bradford. I think pressure's on for Mark Hughes now. Crowd really getting on his back, so I think he's maybe a couple of games from maybe them pulling the trigger. I don't know. I don't think they can lose too much. Put them out of the picture so early on in the season. I think the fans are getting quite restless because it's been quite a few years that they've been in League Two, hasn't it?
The expectations though at Bradford are massive, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, the fan base,
they're a big team, aren't they?
It's championship standard fan base rather than League Two. But fans don't win your games, do they?
No, I think it's a brand of football that they're playing as well. It's quite negative to watch at times, and you just think if you get the players in, they always seem to buy the older type of heads, and it's not working for them. I don't think.
Haven't they had a massive change of system since last season as well? They've gone to a back three, and a lot of their fan base are not happy with it because they don't think their centre halves are good enough.
Yeah, they're not quick enough, I don't think.
And then,
like Neil's just mentioned, Andy Cook's a big miss.
I said on my season preview that they relied on probably 3 or 4 players last season that got them into the playoffs, and if them players dropped off, they could struggle. And I had them outside the playoffs this year, 9th, I think. But it's making me look like I know what I'm talking about at the moment, which is quite nice. But then I did have because obviously Andy Cook's obviously injured, so you can't legislate for that. But I think them players that carried them into the playoffs last season, your Cooks, your Harry Lewis is in goal. I'd say probably Jamie Walker. They're not hitting the standards that they did last season. And if you've only got 3 or 4 players that that are your stardust and are going to carry you through, then you're going to struggle if they drop off even just a little bit.
Yeah.
If the other 7 are not good enough, and they lost a good player, I think, in Romani Critchlow as well, didn't they? Went to Peterborough. He was very good last season. So I get that there's certain factors, but like Ian said, it's massive expectations. It's a massive ground. We know how their fans, and I'm joking before I get absolutely battered onto it, they like to talk about attendances and that type of thing. But this is similar to the fan base. The fan base is brilliant and the attendances are brilliant, but the game's played on grass, unfortunately, not in the stands. And you could even say they're lucky to get 2 points out of the last 2 games. I think they've relied on late equalisers, haven't they, against Harrogate and Grimsby in their last 2. They could have lost both of them invariably as well.
Yeah, so potentially a good couple of points earned in a rough spell, maybe. But yeah, I think something needs to change there because, like you've all said, the expectation is huge at Bradford, and if they're not in the playoffs, it's a failure of a season, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Lewis has asked us to have a quick look at MK Dons and Stockport as well. One result which surprised me. I don't know if it surprised you guys as much. Obviously, Stockport have not started. Yeah, they've not started well. They were tipped to run away with the league by many. MK Dons come down, probably look the most well set up team to go back into League One at the first time of asking. But
I think we've got an early candidate for the lone player of the season, that Barry at Stockport, scoring goals for fun at the moment. And I always thought that last couple of weeks that Stockport are in a false position. They're a lot better side than the league position suggested. And I thought, and they started really slowly last season and came good. And I think the same might happen this time. But it's a hell of a win at MK because MK had been flying.
Yeah, their last 3 showed that they're going in the right direction now, don't they? They had that 3-3 draw against Crawley. Probably disappointing not to win it at home, but back-to-back away wins against 2 sides that have been in decent form. Wimbledon and MK Dons. Again, I don't want to get in trouble. No, they're on an upward trajectory, aren't they? And they've got good players, and I think we have to remember they've still got Carl Wootton to come back as well, who will change how they play.
Yeah.
Don't worry about getting in trouble on this show, mate. We tend to be on the line sometimes. Lee, you've seen Stockport play. What did you think of them? I think it was
not as good as Gills.
Yeah, not as good as the Gills. I think with the first game, it was hard to gauge them, but I think they'll kick on. Like Ian said, they started very slow last year and built their way into the league and season, and I think it'll be a case of that as well. And they'll definitely be in the mix. What I sometimes worry about them is they're not as clinical as they should be. I think they missed quite a few chances against you, didn't they, Matt? Where on another day, someone clinical could have put them chances to bed, but it proved it punished them in the end, but they're scoring. Louis Barry, Nick Powell, I think that's his first goal of the season. So
what a player for League Two, Nick Powell.
Yeah. He was shocking though. That first game at Gillingham, he did nothing.
He's got a lot of ability.
I'll defend Nick Powell there. They played him as a number 9, which was an absolutely ridiculous decision. It just didn't work, did it? When he dropped into the pocket of space second half, he suddenly started getting on the ball and caused us more problems. But yeah, I'm not sure what Dave Challoner was
yeah, that's where he works best. He just finds that space, doesn't he?
It's almost as good as Johnny Williams.
Normally we don't look at the table, but obviously, Matt, it's your debut and you guys are sat top. We're going to leave it a couple of games before the table really settles down. You said it yourself that it's still very early days, but it must be nice seeing that picture. 6 wins, 2 defeats, top of the table, 18 points. Did you expect it at the start of the season?
No. I said if we went to Stockport and got a draw, that would have been a decent result. So that's 2 points less. I think in my season preview, I had a 6th.
What did we tip them in our pre-season, Gills? I think we tipped them for automatic, didn't we?
I had them 3rd, I think.
Yeah.
I'll have to have a look back. I think I had them in playoff.
If you want a team that's the surprise of the season so far, it's Crawley.
Yeah, I had them bottom. See, there you go. Just to counter my thing about Bradford. There you go. That's back to normal, back to reality.
Yeah,
where did you have them finishing, Gills, Matt?
6th.
6th.
Yeah, I had them in the playoffs. At the time, we'd still needed a couple of strikers, so I didn't think there'd be enough goals for us to challenge the top 3. Obviously, since then, we've got, I think Ashley Naderson came in after that. Macaulay Bond then arrived a little bit later. I think that was before we somehow managed to persuade Scott Malone to drop to League Two, and Conor Mahoney. You just get players sometimes, and the old saying, don't fall in love with a lone player, but Conor Mahoney, to coin a phrase that the youngsters make, he just looks like a cheat code at the level. Yeah. There was just moments in the game.
Club, Matt?
Huddersfield.
All right.
And he's played for Neil at Millwall previously, so he knows Sean Williams, he knows Neil Harris, Dave Livermore. There was just a point in the game on Saturday where I turned around at half time and I said, do you remember the old toys that you used to get from Argos where you put the ball in a string bag and hold it so you could never lose control?
Yeah.
It's like that. His feet are a joke. And as Dan mentioned, that his feet and his quick movement, the ball doesn't move until that final shift to shoot for the goal. It's just all in the shoulders that sends 2 of the defenders for a hot dog. I think he could be a really good player this season. So yeah, maybe if I did my season preview now that we scored 2 in a league game, I might put us a bit higher. But as I've already said, there's a long way to go. It is only middle of September.
I know you mentioned that about scoring 2 this time. 7 goals, 4-6 against, and you're top of the table. You can't.
That was the first game that didn't involve a clean sheet that we've played this season in the league. Every one of the first 7 games had a clean sheet. We'd either won 1-0 or we'd lost 0. So that's got that off our back as well. And I think the players now will hopefully go, right, we can go and we can concede and still score enough to win football matches, and fingers crossed. And I think, like with all teams in any division, I think now that there's the early season frantic pace has slowed down and we've now got Saturday to work on the training ground, I think you'll start seeing teams just starting to click into gear a little bit more, and fingers crossed that we do.
Yeah, indeed. Shout out before we move on to League One for Swindon and Mansfield as well. 2 teams that are yet to be beaten in the league. So good to start for both of those. And then we scroll down. It's nice to see us off of the foot of the table finally. Hopefully, like I say, the result this weekend is a bit of a springboard to get us going this season. Sorry, Bradford fans, but yeah, like I said, we've got to scroll down much further to see Donny. Okay, moving on to League One. As we always say, there's Nappers, Cods Vlogs, who does a League One kind of deep dive every single week. So if you want to know more about League One, please go ahead and check his channel out. But yeah, is there any league games that you guys want to talk about in particular? We'll start with Lee.
Oxford again, brushing aside Lee Johnson's first game in charge of Fleetwood. They seem to really hit this season with flames, to be fair, and the winning games, they're in the mix. They recruited well in the summer. Manning's doing a good job. It seems they'll be certainly up there this season. Obviously, last season struggled quite a bit down the foot of the table. But yeah, this season they look to really kicked on, don't they? They
seem to have moved on from Carl Robinson's style of play, and they're looking more offensive-minded under Manning, and also they've got some really, really good players.
Yeah, they have. A mention on Fleetwood, 6 successive defeat. This one, Lee Johnson's first. Obviously, it's his first game in charge. It's a big job for him to turn it around, isn't it? To try and get Fleetwood off the foot of the League One table.
Got a big job there.
Yeah,
we talked about last week. I think it's a strange appointment. I don't know how he keeps getting jobs, if I'm honest. He's got some agent. Wrong recruitment in my eyes. I think they needed someone that's going to battle to get the results, because it's obviously off the pitch antics isn't really not helping the club at the minute.
No, it's not. And something for Fleetwood fans to worry about as well is the fact that they've had 11 shots at goal, but not a single one on target. And we were in that position last season under Danny Schofield, not having a lot of the ball, not having many shots.
I think we went 11 matches without having a shot on target last season. You can't just come and take that off us.
Yeah. I think there were at one point last season where somebody put a video together of shot of the month. It literally got that bad. It was gallows humour. So I feel for Fleetwood fans, but one positive on Fleetwood's negative start to or bad start to the season is that not many League One teams have had to wear Captain Pugwash, which is always nice. I don't know if you've had the pleasure of being at Fleetwood and having 3 scored past you. It's horrible. Ian, any games you want to touch on, mate?
Yeah, I know I keep flying the flag for this club, but Port Vale, what after a 7-0 defeat on the opening day, how to recover from it they've been incredible. I mean, losing 7-0 at Barnsley on the opening day, and they've just not looked back since, both in League and Cup. They just keep winning, and that's a good habit to have. And it was a lovely goal from Garrity, really late on as well.
See, Port Vale have surprised me because I didn't think they looked much in the pre-season friendly, the game just before the season started at Donny.
Yeah, we're at that with you, weren't I? And
yeah,
they
didn't look anything, did they really?
No, not really.
And then obviously they got battered 7-0 in the first game, and I thought, yeah, these are going to be cannon fodder this season. But like you say, they've turned it round after that, and absolute unreal since then.
I think it's just nice and refreshing to see, isn't it? Just looking at the table, I'm not going to pick a game, but if you look at 3 of the top 4, you'd probably say, well, you'd say all the top 4 based on Oxford's season last time around. You'd say that top 4, no one would have fancied to be setting the pace. Exeter, that's a brilliant achievement as well. They're a really good side and a well-run club as well, and that's brilliant to see. Port Vale, you've already touched on. Oxford, you've already touched on. Stevenage, I have to mention. Obviously, our ex-manager, one of Ian's ex-managers. Regardless of what you think of Steve Evans, he knows how to put a squad together. He knows how to put a team together to go and ruffle feathers. And again, it's not always pretty, but it's effective.
Steve Evans doesn't care who he upsets so long as he gets results.
Exactly, and we've always said, and we learned that when we
were at Rotherham, he had players walking out on him, not speaking to him, but he just replaced them with equally as good, if not better, players, and we kept winning. So you can't argue with it.
And I think he's done similar wherever he's been, hasn't he? And it's a method that works for him and Paul Rayner. So why is he going to change? He's not going to change. He's in his 60s now, and it's worked for 15 years. So he's not going to change the way he does it, and he keeps getting results. So, yeah, interesting. And there's some teams down in that league as well that you'd expect to be doing probably better than they are. People like Peterborough and Derby jump off the page in mid-table at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we have to mention Cheltenham after talking about all our goal-scoring issues from last season. Just 7 games without netting a goal is a staggering start to the season for all the wrong reasons. And
can you just imagine being a Cheltenham Town season ticket holder?
I can to a degree, and based on what I had to watch last season, so I do really feel for them. But yeah, I don't think we ever went 7 without netting. And I think we mentioned this before we press record, is that I think even the goal they scored in the Papa John's Trophy or the Carabao Cup was an own goal as well. So that's real tough times for them, and I think they're going to really struggle to get out of it this season. I do fear a little bit for Cheltenham and Fleetwood, because similar to what Lee said, Lee Johnson's got one hell of an agent.
Yeah,
indeed. People in the chat saying Cheltenham massively missing Alfie May.
Yeah.
I asked earlier if Alfie played in the Stevenage Charlton game, because I don't remember hearing him mentioned.
They're another one that's struggling, aren't they? They're 17th at the moment, really struggling.
So he's not in the squad, so I don't know if he's got an injury or something. But yeah, he's not hit the ground running like a lot of people thought he would at Charlton.
He has to be injured. You can't leave a player like Alfie May out of a struggling side like Colchester. I mean, look what he did with Cheltenham last season in a struggling side.
Yeah. It must be injured, because it looks like he's got 4 in 6 this season in the league. So that would be a big miss for someone like Charlton. So
yeah.
I've been having a look at the Twitter meltdown, well, the latest Twitter meltdown on Derby County. I'm afraid the Derby fans are very, very peed off with Paul Warne and his style of play. I think the honeymoon period's over. There's 1 or 2 on Twitter want him gone. And I think if results don't improve, I think that might happen.
Again, it's probably a similar situation to Bradford in League 2, isn't it? It's massive expectation, massive ground. Should be Championship at worst.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
You can't afford to fall behind.
Draw, don't they?
Yeah, like
Still
you were just going to say,
unbeaten,
Lee, they can't really afford to fall too far behind, can they? Before the powers that be start looking and thinking, do we make a change or do we stick?
Yeah. Darren Moore waiting.
Yeah. Heard it here first. Darren Moore to Derby.
Possibly.
I saw in the chat that people wanted us to talk about Barnsley. We've said before on the show that there may have been a hangover from the playoff defeat, especially the way that it ended. Last kick of the game against Sheffield Wednesday. Sometimes that can have a massive impact on a team's season the following season. But Barnsley seem to have taken off where they finished and a decent start to the campaign.
Fire, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm glad Jake's not on tonight, to be honest, because Claxon would be flying now. But Devante, when he were at Donaghy, it was an absolute donkey. So I don't know who this Devante Cole is. I think the one that we had was probably an imposter because I don't think he scored for Doncaster. Whereas at Barnsley, I mean, we've said it before, certain players just fit in teams and it just works for them. I think Devante's got that team here scoring a brace against
His
a struggling
first goal
Burton
was
team.
a belter.
It was
really good finish.
But yeah, that result takes Barnsley up to 5th. But it's very tight at the top, isn't it?
Mm.
Oh yeah, it's not, even like Derby, you say we've said it's almost struggling to a degree, but they're one win from jumping into the top 6, and again that comes back to the fact that we're only 7-8 games in.
It's still very early days.
Yeah.
I think it's one of them leagues we said last week, didn't we? Literally, it's going to be anyone's. It's going to be. There's no one really that you can say now is going to win the league. I mean, Derby, we had all those favourites to win it, but looking at it now, it's going to be anyone's after, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the only section you can say where you start looking at maybe stuff taking shape is probably that bottom 3 that Dan's just scrolled on, because you've got to worry for the trio that are in there at the moment. There's a lot of red, isn't there, in that form?
Yeah.
And five goals between them in 21 games is a massive concern.
Yeah, it's not good, is it? Especially when you take into consideration as well, Wigan had -8. I think Reading, did they just get deducted 3 points as well?
Yeah, because they'd be on 9. They'd have 9, so they'd be halfway up. Yeah, and Wigan 12, they'd be on 13 points. They'd be in the top 6 with the form as it is. Yeah, so
yeah,
I think both Wigan and Reading will be okay.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah.
Lovely
stuff. So that brings League One to a close. Obviously, if you want a bit more detailed analysis on League One, we do recommend you go over to Cod's Vlogs and watch his show. And
also 4-0 written over it as well. I'd like to shout out.
Yeah, 4-0 written all over it. And the Stacey Webb podcast. I think they're the 3
guys.
They're
very good. Yeah, I think there's a new Blackpool one as well. I think as well that Tom Main, who used to run the Third Tier podcast, he's set up. I think it's called It's Not Orange or something like that. That looks to be fairly decent as well. So there's plenty of good ones in there. I used to, obviously, when you used to talk to them, Dan, not so long ago.
Yeah, hopefully it's not too long that we're talking with them again.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Apart from Fleetwood, because they look like they're coming back down. So yeah, any other than them. Moving on to the Championship. Ian, do you want to start us at Huddersfield, or do you want Lee to start us at Sheffield Wednesday?
I'd rather Lee started, actually. Get my thoughts together.
Are you going to compose yourself?
Cheers, Ian, mate.
So we've started the show positively with Gillingham and Doncaster. We're going to end. We should have done it the other way around, really. Should end on a positive, but it is what it is. We will. I
would have turned off if I'd had to listen to these two misery guts to start.
No, this is it. Finish your Sunday on an absolute rant. Lee, take it away.
So coming into this one, I want rate confident. Obviously, Ipswich have hit the league. The pushing on and just obviously taking the form into this season from last. Wednesday performance, artless, gutless, no desire to win the game, lack of style. Watching the game, obviously we got a good point away at Leeds. 2-week international break. I'm hoping I'm going to see a bit of style and play and see some sort of shape, but nothing. When you're coming into a game, home crowd, I mean, there was still 25,000 there, which is quite impressive to say how much Chancellor is charging everyone, which is another thing for another day. It's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, you compare these two clubs, I mean, we both got promoted last season. The Ipswich model coming into this league is exactly how I wanted Wednesday to be, but it's far from that now. It's an absolute train wreck. We've mentioned teams before, from top to bottom. If your hierarchy is no good, it's going to affect the players on the pitch. Body language were absolutely atrocious for every single player yesterday. I think the only player that could probably hold his hands up and say he had a good performance with the keeper, because it could have been 2 or 3, maybe possibly 4. He made some good saves. Just absolutely diabolical performance. Manager-wise, I'm quite concerned. I think he's out of depth. He's got promotion with Watford. Was it pot luck? Did he just get a lucky squad with that? Because I think tactically he's all over the shop. I mean, he's alienated Johnson, which for me is absolutely ridiculous. He was probably our most consistent player last year. Work-wise, he's not amazing, but he'll put a cross in out of nothing when you need it, and it's exactly what we were missing yesterday. We were getting it wide, and it was just crossing balls aimlessly. I mean, I could be still sat there now. We wouldn't have scored, and Ipswich should have been halfway home. It was just absolutely dreadful to watch. Obviously, vlogging it's painful, but you just lost for words. It's just an absolute mess. Quite frustrating.
Building.
What's that?
Character building, like.
It's just, like I said, the structure's just not there. Chansiri out, chance at the end, and obviously the defacing the banner. So week in, week out, it's just going to keep escalating. And how far do we get? I mean, we've got Middlesbrough Tuesday now, and it's already a must-win so early on in the season. It's absolutely mental. We all knew the uphill task coming into this season were going to be massive, because it's such a tough league. But the way we've come into it, it's just an absolute train wreck. We had that connection with Moore and the fans. We've lost that now. Just milling about the ground beforehand. They want that buzz. I mean, we've got promoted. We shouldn't have got promoted, really, because it was something you'll never see again. But we've got promoted. You should be coming into this season in such a high, getting promoted. Like Ipswich, like I say, I've compared them. Their fans are absolutely buzzing. They've had a fantastic start. They've not changed much, which is it's a must when you get promoted. Just take away a few things, few signings, just to bolster the squad, and we've just absolutely just changed everything, and it's just not working.
That manager change has just meant that you've had to rip everything up and you're starting again. And like you say, you want continuity when you're getting promoted, and a team that you were toe to toe with all last season in League One. From an outsider looking in, you two guys are absolutely poles apart at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, we spent two years in League One. Obviously, we got relegated with a points deduction, but I feel we've gone even further back than what we were then. It's just like you took League One to reset, to come back a stronger, a bigger outfit, but we've just gone up, not learnt as lessons, and we're just gonna. I can't see us getting out of it so early on in this season. It was always going to be an uphill task, but that performance was just nothing. And like I said, the players' body language says it all to me. They've lost the will
it's
to live.
It's still only September, Lee. It's still only September.
Yeah, I agree, Ian. But if you'd have watched what I watched Saturday, mate, you'd have been saying the exact same, because they're just when a player's taking 2 foul throws more. We didn't even have a shot on target. That's probably that just sums it up. It's just.
What did Cisco say after the game?
Not listen to it, because I was trying to just take myself away from it. Yeah. I mean, I ended my vlog. I'm trying to back him, because obviously we follow his club. We have followed it since a little lad. We always try and be positive, but I just can't be positive. It's just a train. Every day there's something come up. being a Wednesday fan, like last week, that stupid, needless statement. Didn't need it. Moore's been gone 2 months now. Just move on. Concentrate what is happening with the club now. Back the manager and just get that connection back with the fans, because you're just losing it, and it's going to come to a point where fans are going to protest. I mean, we're already talking. I had seen coming this Tuesday that the old tennis balls are going to be lobbed on. Whether it's going to happen, but it's obviously week in, week out, it's going to escalate. And Chansiri, he's only got himself to blame. I mean, the ticket prices are absolutely ridiculous. Everyone I spoke to, Ipswich fan, were just they paid 42 quid yesterday for an away ticket. Credit to them, they sold it. They sold their allocation, and I was really surprised with what the crowd won, because I didn't expect it to be.
They've got some money, these farmers, though, haven't they?
But it just shows Wednesday.
That's when they're in the top three, Ian. Yeah.
It just shows Wednesday fans are a real glutton for punishment, because we've just been through the absolute ringer, and it's quite frustrating. It really is.
I think that's it, mate. You've got to keep the faith. I mean, I think all four of us have been through similar sort of situations at our clubs. I think there were protests at Donny last season because the board had just not invested. They seemed to be wanting to go self-sustainable, and all that had achieved was a regression in terms of where we were and where we got to. Finished as lowest we'd finished in 20 years. You've got Matt here, where the ownership changed, and that's just changed the whole feeling of the club. I mean, do you think, Matt, that's something that Chef Wednesday need now? Do you think they're at a point where it's a change of ownership that's needed, or could it be similar to what we've got at Doncaster, where the ownership's still there, but they've just realised the errors of the ways and put the right sort of funds and right focus on the right areas?
It's tricky to say without knowing all the background information and what's going on. And again, it's easy for us as outsiders to say just keep the faith, because we had fans of other teams telling us that. I'm sure you had fans of other teams telling you to do the same as well, Dan. And it is trickier when you're watching something that you love almost slowly just disintegrate and die in front of your eyes. And it, like Lee said, they got promoted last season along with Ipswich, but now the difference between the two clubs is staggering.
Yeah.
Completely different ends of the spectrum, not just in terms of league position, but what's going on behind the scenes. Only going off what I can read on social media, in terms of the feel around the clubs is completely different. Of course, we all have to keep the faith to a degree, and we will, because it's our football club, and we won't stop loving it and going to watch it, because you always get to the next game and you go, this will be the day that it changes, and maybe for a good 10 minutes until 8 o'clock, when you concede that first goal and you get that sinking feeling again. But yeah, it does change. It's not always instant. And yeah, I think, like you said, Dan, we've all been there, unfortunately, and we'll probably all be there again, because life and football tends to have these cycles. But it is very early in the season. I can't say that it's not, because I've sat there and said that about my own club. We're not winning the league in September, and Sheffield Wednesday and Rotherham are certainly not getting relegated in September as well. But I do understand the feelings of those fan bases, because it's horrible to watch when you feel that you can't do anything to help something that you want to be doing better and to be the best version of itself.
I think we've touched on this before. It's a cliche. We turn up to a game of football, we pay his hard-earned money. Mm-hmm. I can accept getting beat if the performance is there, they've made the effort. You can accept it as a football fan. You can come away and say, look, wasn't our day. We just got beat by the better side, but they've put the effort in. But I was just sat there with just nothing, no effort at all. I think the only bright thing for me for the day is I got to meet my little mate again, Finlay. That was the only thing I could take away from Saturday, because it was absolutely dreadful. It's quite upsetting, really, at times, because you just he's messing with a club that not messing, but he just such poorly run. It's just everything from top to bottom, and even the catering. It's just what a mess. Absolutely. It gets you, doesn't it?
We've been there, Lee. I've been there with that type of thing. We turned up to a pre-season friendly last summer, and Paul Scally was selling out a date beer at £2 a bottle, and it went viral. And you think that's funny when you see it, and it's someone else's club. But when you see it and it's your own club that's being run like that, it does break your heart.
Yeah, it hurts, doesn't it? Massively. You also met Gab Sutton yesterday, Lee. The photo, a decent photo. I thought you were stood in a ditch.
Mate, I tell
He's
you
a
what,
big lad, mate. He's a lot bigger than I thought. I met him at Cheltenham a couple of seasons ago. He's a big lad.
Yeah, he's a giant, isn't he?
So I'm 6'1", and I looked up at him. It's ridiculous how tall he is.
Jesus. See, I only see him on a screen like this, and we all look the same size. So you just assume that he's going to be at that sort of height. But saw the picture of you two yesterday. I thought you fell down an hole.
I know. I'm looking up at him going,
oh, talk about falling down holes. Ian, you all right? You with us?
I'm all right. No, it's still me.
He knows,
tripod.
He knows the Rotherham section's coming.
Yeah. Huddersfield Rotherham, yeah, fuck that. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I've got to go. Sorry, bye.
Come on, Ian, cheer me up, mate.
Yeah, I'm back again.
Go on, have a rant.
Sorry about that.
It's all yours, Ian. Huddersfield 2, Rotherham 0. What happened?
What happened? Nothing. That's basically the problem. We got Warnock, didn't we? We got Neil Warnock. We got battered, really. I'm really surprised because we came back off 2 very encouraging home performances. Rather unlucky defeat to Leicester when McAteer scored in the 88th minute to beat us 2-1. And then we played really, really well to beat Norwich last Saturday. And in performances, like Dan says, performances have been there. They've been improving. But we just seem a different animal away from home. Away from home, we seem to set up with 1 up top, 5 across midfield, 3 centre halves, and we set up really wanting a 0-0 draw.
Yeah.
And then we concede early, and then there's no plan B. Really, really poor performance. Huddersfield won it at a canter. We did have 1 chance. Odiem headed, and Nichols made a good save at the start of the second half, but really we were never in it.
I think
we are really struggling away from home, as home form has been pretty good. But away, we just seem to get battered all the time. I mean, we're not talking narrow defeats here, we're talking batterings, and it's a worry. I mean, we know we're going to struggle. We know where we are in the Championship food bank, really. We're always going to be bottom 6, but we've got to aim to be top of that bottom 6. And at the moment, it's looking a bit iffy, especially with some of the home games we've got. We've got PNE next Saturday, who are leaders at home. Oh, we've got a friendly little trip to Millwall in midweek. We'll probably get beat again. But we'll still be there. We'll still fight hard. I mean, we were struggling because Cafu, who was our signing from Forest, who was by far and away our best player, has got an Achilles injury, so he might be out for 2 or 3 games. But we signed Sam Clucas from, well, it's not from Stoke because he was a free agent, and he made his debut. He looked quite encouraging when he came on as sub.
Yeah, good signing.
Yeah, not a bad signing, really. I mean, our squad is pretty small for Championship standards. But so long as we keep giving some of the big boys a bloody nose now and again, I've got to be fairly happy.
Yeah.
Not too disappointed.
On this one, though, Ian, Anthony's come in the chat saying wingers were on fire. Thomas Sorber, not a fan favourite, but played his skin off. Do you think this result partially adds the fact that, well, potentially Neil Warnock's leaving is going to... There's some announcement on Monday, isn't there? It was very, very secretive on the EFL show in his post-match press conference, saying that you'll just have to wait and see. Do you think it was kind of a leaving present for Warnock and what he's done at Huddersfield?
It
was just probably wrong time to face him.
Yeah, it could have fired him up. But yeah. I've got no complaints with the result at all. We were well beaten.
Yeah,
You think he has to have a bit more of a go away than Ian? You think that's?
Yeah, I think tactically he gets it all wrong away from home. He sets up not to lose rather than to win the game. I mean, it's difficult in the Championship because you've got players that, tens of millions of pounds against little old us. But at least we could have a go. As a fan, I'd rather see us lose 5-0 and have a go than lose 1-0 and surrender stations from the first whistle.
Yeah, I agree with that. Moving on, we've mentioned Preston. ATID is in the chat as well. He's a regular viewer of this show. He said that his weekend was ruined after 38 seconds, and Preston kind of showed them what to do in both boxes. Cracking start for Preston and Ryan Lowe, isn't it? I think 5 league wins on the bounce puts them top of the table. Unexpected for me. I see Preston as kind of a mid-table team, but cracking start.
They're one of them. A little bit like Luton Town. No superstars in the lineup, just a damn good team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything on Preston or Plymouth, Lee?
No, I'm just touched on what Ian said. I think Preston, perfect example. No superstars. They just work hard as a team, and Ryan Lowe seems to have got them working, and it's proven to be a winning formula at the moment.
Yeah. Shout out to Finley. Finley is watching and says hello. Hello, Finley. It's great that you're watching.
Legend.
Matt, is there any games that you want to touch on, mate, in the Championship before we have a look at the table and start rounding this video?
Having a quick look, because obviously it's not. I haven't looked up that high for about 15 years, unfortunately.
You and me both, mate.
It's very alien to me. I'm looking at these lineups and these match statistics, and there's this XG and all this type of fancy stuff that they talk about. We don't get that down in League Two. We have to slum it, but
keep having a look, mate. We'll go to Lee. He went to Hull against Coventry on Friday night. Decent vlog, mate. It looks a good one from a neutral. Go for it.
It was, mate. You can't beat Friday night under the lights. Crowd of over 21,000. Both teams set off like an house on fire. Both end to end in the first 10 minutes, but then Coventry really imposed itself in the game and got a real good foothold. I think all were trying to play out at the back a little bit too much. I think sometimes you've got to mix it up. But Coventry got on top of them and really pressed them quite well. The lads in the middle of the park really hounded them. Like I said, they just kept playing out the back, and a couple of times they were really lucky to get away with it, because I thought Coventry were going to nick in and grab the goal, but good header to get the goal to take 1-0 lead into half time. But all come out with purpose. Coventry really sat back, I felt. A couple of substitutions, it really stopped the fluidity of Coventry, and all really got on top of them. On reflection, I think a draw probably the fair result. Both teams will be happy with that. I think all watched them last season early on. Definitely a different outfit this year, playing some good football. Got a good few signings as well. Obviously, Connolly's he's chipped in with his fair share of goals. Great header as well to get the equaliser, like a flicked header. Great finish. Yeah, really good finish. But yeah, I think both these will. I think all top 10, maybe top 6 will be a bit too much for them. I think Coventry, the key for them, I think it's going to be how the new boys settle in for obviously replacing the ones that have left. The recruitment.
Yeah, they lost the 2 best players, didn't they? Hamer and Gakaris.
Yeah, I think Ennis come off the bench, but it's just going to be how they bed in. But I think they'll be all right. I think they're a good, solid unit. The fullback, I don't know his name. I can't remember. He was really good. Pacey gets back in. But yeah, both good outfits. A good footballing match to cover as a neutral, because they're a brilliant crowd for a Friday night. 21,000, excellent. A good atmosphere from both sets of fans. Coventry, a good value as well away from home. Great crowd.
Yeah. 4 links to Gills in that fixture as well, which is weird. Just looking at that.
Question
Alfie,
for the rest of the lads. Do you think anybody can stop Leicester?
yeah, I suppose that was the standout result, wasn't it, going to Southampton? But
Yeah.
I mean, we comfortably saw off Southampton in the Carabao Cup, and it comes back to this thing about possession, and it looks nice, but if you don't do anything with it, it's meaningless.
Yeah.
Defensively, Southampton look awful.
Yeah, they just keep giving up leads as well, don't they? And it's if you're playing catch up all the time, it's difficult. And I know he's not as good as he was a few seasons ago, but if you're giving chances to someone of the calibre of Jamie Vardy in the Championship, then you're going to get punished over and over again. And I think, isn't it Pep Guardiola's former assistant that's gone in there as the new gaffer?
Yeah.
So they're going to certainly have an identity and a way they play, and they've got good players at the end of the day, Leicester. So they're going to be a threat, aren't they? That Casey McAteer played against us. I think he made his first team debut in the FA Cup game at the Priestfield back in January, and looked a prospect then as well. I think he then had a loan spell last season at what have been Wimbledon. But yeah, they're certainly going to be a threat, and I think Russell Martin sometimes just has to deviate away from Southampton's perspective of just keeping the ball for keeping the ball's sake, because keeping the ball doesn't win you
Swansea,
football
didn't he,
matches.
Matt? Every game Swansea played last season, they had 60-70% possession, and they ended up mid-table.
Yeah, it was the same at MK Dons a couple of seasons. I think it was the COVID season. MK Dons came to our place and they put this tweet out at half time. They'd scored this goal and it was 55 passes and brilliant. We beat you 3-2. So I couldn't give a shit how many passes you made.
Yeah.
Well done. You lost. It looks nice, but I just chat with a Gillingham fan a couple of weeks ago. Like, you don't get anything. You don't get bonus points for artistic license in football. You get bonus points for winning football matches. If you want to watch sports that you get extra points for looking nice, then go and watch gymnastics or figure skating or something like that, because that's not how football works at the end of the day.
Yeah,
spot on. Hit the nail on the head. Matt, you're getting some love in the chat as well. Jake's missing being on the show and talking football, but ATID said that you're not a bad sub and that you've got a brilliant channel as well. So some love in the chat for you, mate.
Appreciate it. It's been good to be on. So thank you for the invite. Well, you've been inviting me on for about a year, to be fair. I've just been.
Yeah, it's just the stars are aligned. Let's have a quick flick on the table. Obviously, only 6 games played in the Championship. Preston, early pace setters. ATID earlier on, if I can find the comment. Oh, where are we? There we go. It says, never seen us batter anyone as badly as we did on Saturday. So, yeah, it looks like Preston probably got away with one there. So, early pace setters, but probably not going to be there come the end of the season. So, yeah, Leicester, Ipswich looking good. Obviously, Birmingham, first defeat on the weekend. They've had a really good start to the campaign as well.
Yeah, and both goals in added time as well for what?
Yeah. Any concerns about Middlesbrough looking at this? I mean, we've put the comment up on the midweek game. Sheffield Wednesday Middlesbrough's getting billed as the El Sakiko. Are we at that level now where whoever loses this game could potentially be getting the chop? Is that as bad as is it getting? Do you think?
I'll say Carrick's. Go on, Lee.
I think Middlesbrough. I don't know. I think listening to his interview after, I think he was quite pleased with the performance at Blackburn. But it's a cutthroat business, isn't it? Football. It's a mad one. So I'm just gonna have to charge because I'm gonna get cut off. It's mad, really. You can say managers aren't going to get sacked, but the next day they can get sacked. So I can't rule anything out. But for me, I won't sack Carrick because I think he did a cracking job last year. I think it's only a matter of time before they turn it around, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Xisco, get rid now.
What were you going to say, Matt?
I was going to say you'd probably, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way to Sheffield Wednesday, but them coming up from League One into the Championship, you'd say that surely Carrick's probably under more pressure than the Sheffield Wednesday game. I'm not going to say his name because that name just sings songs about thongs for me. I can't be doing with manager having the same name. It's ridiculous. So for me, I think Carrick is under severe pressure. It's all right. We sit here as outsiders and we go, "Oh, you've got to give him time," but Lee doesn't want his manager to be given time. He wants him gone. So I'd imagine Borough fans are probably in the position that they want results. They shouldn't be bottom. They shouldn't be bottom half, probably, based on the job he'd done before. But we all know the modern game is very here and now, and it's very short-termist. And they've got to pick
Steve
up quick.
Gibson, as shown in the past, he can be quite patient with managers. Now, whether his patience will run out after another couple of defeats, but they've lost two of the Championship's top scorers last season, Common and Archer, and they're big misses.
Yeah, they are indeed. Obviously, I don't think Swansea will be there come the end of the season either. I think they'll pick up. But yeah, plenty of time left for the table to change drastically.
I can't understand why we are not in the bottom three because, like I said about our away form's dreadful. I think it's just as home form that's keeping us.
Just keep quiet and enjoy that you're not in the bottom three.
Yeah.
Should we do a few questions, Dan?
Yeah. So, any questions? Fire them in. Obviously, just to round off, we've got the predictions. So we'll get this up on the screen. There's not much red in last week's predictions. There's plenty of points scored, 7 points here and there, 5 points here and there. So a very positive week from everybody in this. This week's predictions, we will start with Ian. Obviously, we've got the midweek games: Sheff Wednesday against Middlesbrough, Millwall against Rotherham, and then we've got the weekend games: Cambridge against Port Vale, Donny, Gills, Sutton, MK Don. So fire through your scores, Ian.
Right, okay. Wednesday 0, Middlesbrough 0.
Gee.
Millwall 2, Rotherham 0.
Oh. Yep.
Cambridge 1, Port Vale 2.
Yep.
Rovers 1, Gillingham 2.
Oh. Matt's happy.
And Sutton 0, MK Dons 2.
Lovely. Lee.
Wednesday's Toulouse 2-0. Millwall 1-1 with Rotherham.
Oh, thanks, Lee.
You're right, mate. I'll give you a point, mate. Port Vale to win 2-1. Sorry, Dan, but I think 1-0 Gillingham is going to be the case. Gillingham 1-0.
Yeah.
And MK Dons 3-1.
3-1 to MK Dons, yeah?
Yes, mate, yeah.
So I've gone Sheff Wednesday 1-0. Millwall to beat Rotherham 2-1, sorry, Ian. Port Vale to win 2-0. I've got to stick with my boys. I'm going with 2-1 win against Gills. It's going to be tough, though. And then I'm going Sutton 1, MK Dons 4. Matt, you can get involved in this if you want. Obviously, we're quite far through the season now. If you want to get your predictions in, bang them in. But the one that I want is obviously Donny against Gills. What you think?
Go on and shout the games out, me, and I'll shout them out results. Go on.
Go for it. Sheff Wednesday, Middlesbrough.
1-0.
1-0. Millwall, Rotherham.
2-1 Millwall.
Yep. Cambridge, Port Vale.
Oh, that's a tough one. They both started really well, haven't they? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
I'll have a look at the table for that one. Ooh. Who's at home? Cambridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just dropped off, haven't they? 2 each.
2 each. Donny Gills.
2-1 Gills.
And then Sutton MK Dons, mate.
0-3.
0-3. Lovely stuff. As always, get your predictions in the comments and I'll get them later and add them all to the table, and there'll be an update next week. I did ask something on Twitter. Obviously, a tough end to our month with Gillingham and Barrow coming up. I asked my followers if we think we're going to get 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 3 to 4, or 6 points, and the voting's in, and we've gone with 3 to 4 points. That's the majority. I'd be ecstatic at that. I'd be happy with 2 points from the next two. But yeah, obviously get your predictions in, and we will update those. Remove that. And that brings us to the end of episode 44 of the 72 review. Big thank you to everybody who's been watching and stuck with us, got involved in the chat. It's been a decent show. Big thanks to Matt for stepping in. Decent debut, mate. You've had a lot of love in the chat.
Enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Very well about football, so you're more than welcome on again. Obviously, if the chat was shit, you'd be sacked.
No issue with that. No issue with that. I'll apply for the Wednesday job.
I'll let you have it, Matt.
Any final words? So we'll start with Lee.
No, enjoyed it. Great to meet Matt. Obviously, we're meeting Saturday. The 18 Dapper, the Jules in the Blood derby. So looking forward to you two scrapping outside the ground before and after. No, enjoyed it. Obviously, I got my rant off my chest. We fight to live another day and love this football club no matter what.
Exactly.
Lovely stuff. Ian, any final words, mate?
Yeah, just no matter how dark days seem, just keep supporting your club. That's what the football club's there for.
Is indeed. And Matt, final words, mate?
Gills top of the league.
Is that it? Quite happy with that.
I'm going to keep saying it all the while it lasts because I know it won't last forever.
You know what? I'll give you it. Thank you for coming on the show.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Obviously, links to all of the socials, the channels are in the description down below. All that's left for me to say is this has been episode 44 of the 72 review. If you're watching on repeat, please get the comments in, like it, subscribe to everybody. And all that's left for me to say is thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.